And now is the time in our service where we enter into meditation. So I invite you now to just gently close your eyes. Just begin to relax, letting go of any concerns or thoughts that don't meet your highest good. Making room for those thoughts that do meet your highest good as we continue to relax to our meditation. Just allowing yourself to relax deeper and allowing yourself to just become open. Become open to receive what your higher self may have to tell you. So I invite you now to visualize a mirror that's been placed in front of you. And you approach this mirror and you see yourself staring back at you. And as you gaze into the eyes of your reflection, you see no flaws. You see no worry. You see no error, you see no mistake. You only see love staring back at you. For your reflection is that of your higher self. Your reflection is pure God, seeing the universe as you. And you suddenly begin to notice that your higher self has a message of some kind for you. What is that message? Is it a message of love? Is it a message of your endless potentiality? Limitless possibilities? What is the message that your higher self is saying to you during this time, at this moment? How is that message making you feel? And as we prepare to enter into our moment of silence today, I ask you to just listen. Just be open and listen to what your higher self is saying to you, and just allow yourself to feel this moment and to just listen as we enter into our moment of silence. And as you bring your awareness back to this room and back to this time and place, you carry with you that message from your higher self and the God within. You carry it with you. You carry with you that feeling that is void of fear, that is void of worry, that is void of stress, that is void of anything that no longer serves your highest good. Making room only for all the good that you're worthy. And we carry this feeling with us, and we know that we can go back to this moment of this conversation with our higher self at any place and any time. And so it is. Namaste. She's got a beautiful voice, huh? Thank you, Kay. And I heard some nice voices coming up out of the congregation, too. So, hey, don't sell yourself short out there. I wasn't joining in, or it might not have quite been that way, but anyway. So, has anybody, I'm just curious if anybody in here has ever at some point in their life heard the statement, life isn't meant to be fair. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, my mom watching that movie, Mommy Dearest, and that scene comes back to me where she's like, nobody said life was fair or something like that, but anyway. It's kind of a creepy movie, but anyway. But she's telling it to her kids, though, right? I mean, she's like, nobody said life was fair. So what do you think that little girl is going to think as she grows into adulthood? You're going to think life's not fair, you know? What do you think that's going to do, something like that's going to do to our belief system as we start to grow up and start to navigate life if somebody tells us that life isn't fair? Do you think it just might have an impact on our lives, and better yet, how we live our lives, whether it's a true statement or not? That gets into our psyche, and it's going to probably affect how we live our lives. You know, then what do we start to believe that we're capable of? You know, how we view the world in which we live, and maybe even how we learn to view other people, you know, if we're told life isn't fair. And so, as you can see, we're going to be talking a little bit about Dr. Wayne, if I can talk today, blah, blah, blah. It's like there's a tongue twister or something. Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about him today. And if you've heard me talk before, you've probably at some point heard me mention him because he's one of my favorite authors, and he's really one of my favorite spiritual teachers. And he was really one of the first that I remember being introduced to. You know, my mom had a book of his on the shelf, and you know, he's the one that I usually turn to when I feel like I need that extra dose of spirituality for something in my life. Just seems like he's always got something good to say. So Dr. Wayne Dyer, he quotes Neville Goddard from his book, Wishes Fulfilled. And he says, health, wealth, beauty, and genius are not created. They are manifested by the arrangement of your mind. That is, by your concept of yourself. And your concept of yourself is all that you accept and consent to be true. So what if from a young age we're taught or we're told that life isn't meant to be fair? We then grow up believing this false belief, and our lives begin to start to shape themselves around that belief. We truly start to believe at that point that life isn't meant to be fair, and those types of things that aren't fair are probably going to start manifesting in our lives. Oh, I didn't get that promotion I worked so hard for. That's just the way life goes. Life isn't meant to be fair. That diagnosis, that's the way I figured it would go. Oh, well, it figures. Life isn't meant to be fair. And on it goes to just about any situation. We see these things start to happen in our lives, and we find that ultimately we're just not really shocked at all because life isn't meant to be fair. And as a result, we may find that we aren't seeing those things in life that we want to see in life because we're still stuck in this false belief. But on another note for just a moment, I do want to talk about that those types of things are going to happen regardless as to how we view life. We're going to lose jobs. We're going to receive diagnoses that we wish were different. It doesn't mean that everything's going to go exactly the way we want it to go when we want it to go a certain way. But it does mean that we just don't automatically expect that everything we don't want to see in our lives is going to manifest in our lives. So life's not meant to be fair is just assuming that we're just kind of thrown here on this, during this lifetime, just to kind of blindly feel our way through a darkened room, right? That whatever's going to happen is going to happen without any input from us. It's just sheer happenstance if we believe life's not fair. We might be able to control a few things here and there. We might be able to decide whether we want the chocolate or the vanilla shake, or where we're going to go to church on Sunday and which shirt we're going to put on in the morning. But as a whole, when we believe life's not fair, we also believe that it's all just a matter of circumstance. And we often find that it's true. Life becomes not fair as a result of that circumstance. Or maybe we realize that what we can do, however, is to know that life is only meant to be unfair if we allow it to be unfair. Or life is fair, especially when we realize that we're at the helm and we're controlling and we're chartering our own course. And we can go in any direction we want to go when we believe that life is fair. Now, Dr. Wayne Dyer, and I'm using his book, Wishes Fulfilled, another one I went home and dug out of my stash, and I'm like, hey, I believe that whatever book speaks to me is usually what I should talk about. But I'm using Wishes Fulfilled by Wayne Dyer. But Dr. Dyer talks about how we first must begin to change the concept of ourselves. But first, he mentions two important things that we must begin to understand. Two other types of concepts, which are ordinary and extraordinary. Now, ordinary is like what we imagine it to be. It consists of those things that have been programmed within us, maybe since childhood, maybe things that we kind of learn or pick up along the way. Things such as, if you believe the statement, life's not meant to be fair, and other such statements. But it also consists of those things, like I said, that we're programmed to do, such as study hard. We're taught to follow the rules. We pay our taxes. We get a nice job so we can purchase that house with that nice white picket fence, those kinds of things. Those are the ordinary things in life. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with those things, we often find that deep down, we're trying to transcend that which we perceive as normal. We're trying, even at a subconscious level, to transcend that we see as ordinary. On the surface, extraordinary, on the other hand, isn't necessarily always so different. We still pay taxes. We still study hard. We still have to have a job if we want that white picket fence, right? But the extraordinary consciousness moves beyond just these things. The extraordinary is, as Dr. Dyer puts it, associated with your soul. It is that invisible, boundaryless energy that looks out from behind your eyeballs and has very different interests than your ordinary self does. So it's not seeking more knowledge. The extraordinary isn't going out to seek more knowledge. It's not interested in who has the most toys, that who has the most toys wins or whatever that saying is. It's not about who wins or loses the championship. It's not even about happiness. It's about freedom. The extraordinary is about freedom to expand, freedom to reach out and embrace the infinite. It's about taking an ordinary life, and it's about moving into something extraordinary. Seeing and living the life that you have always desired and envisioned to live. That is stepping out into the extraordinary. It's also about connection to that God within. The extraordinary and truly living from that which is your higher self. So how do we begin to really move into that place of living within the extraordinary, your higher self? Now, Dr. Dyer mentions how important it is to first change your concept of self. Your concept is everything that you believe to be true, your belief about yourself. So the first concept he talks about is the outer self. There's the outer concept. The outer concept is believing whether or not you're physically attractive, how intelligent you feel you may or may not be, how fast you were or not at running sprints, or how good you are or aren't at tennis, golf, math, those kinds of things. And believe me, I know I'm not good at math, but anyway, I digress. Many of those are being learned abilities, things that we learn. And it also includes things that we learn, that we believe about our health. Really anything and everything that you believe about your body and this, whatever you believe that this physical vessel is capable of or not. Your inner concept is a little bit different. Now, this concept is more than just the body and its capabilities. The outer concept is something that changes. The body changes, we age. We can learn to study something or to learn something different. We can practice to become better at an art or a sport. But the inner concept is a little bit different because the inner concept is the spiritual side of you. It is that I am part of you that lies inside this physical body. It's that formless part of you that you can't see with the physical eye. But it's important to also know that our self-concept also includes your beliefs in relation to a higher power. Things such as your belief in a higher power and your relation to that higher power. For instance, is God inside of you or is it outside of you? What about those things that people refer to as miracles? Do you believe in them? More importantly, do you believe in your ability to create them? Living from the extraordinary, from that place which is your higher self, requires a few things. It requires some work. Yes, it does require a little bit of work. And it also requires a mind shift. Now, Dr. Dyer swings back to Neville Goddard and states, a higher concept of yourself involves taking on new truths. Taking on new truths and shedding your old views of what you can achieve. This is the only way you can achieve your desires. So what does it take sometimes to shed those old views? What do we sometimes need to overcome to begin to shift into new ways of thinking? What is it sometimes that prevents us from shifting into those new ways of thinking? And it's going to include a word that you're likely familiar with. Does anybody care to take a guess what that is? All right, I'll make it easy. It's resistance. Dr. Dyer says that you must overcome resistance to all that you are in your earthly life. You must overcome resistance to all that you are in your earthly life. So to me, it's kind of akin to taking the statement of life's not meant to be fair to maybe something a little different. Something more, maybe more like, I can, I will, and I am. Jesus said in John 3:7 of the Bible, you must be born again. Now, many churches today view that statement, you must be born again, as being baptized. And it's being baptized in water, in order to win your place into this physical location called heaven after you pass from this life. But that's not what we're talking about here today. Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore explained it differently in the Metaphysical Dictionary. Born again, or a new birth, meaning the two important factors in the new birth process are to put away the old and to receive the new. But you have to be willing to be born again, right? Even if you believed it in a traditional sense of being baptized in water, you've got to make the decision to do that. It's not something that just randomly happens. You have to make the decision. And by this, I mean with our belief system in ourselves. We must be willing to put away the old to receive the new. We've got to be willing to do that. We can begin to move beyond resistance also with an inner knowing. Now, Dr. Dyer again quotes Neville Goddard. To be transformed, the whole basis of your thoughts must change. But your thoughts cannot change unless you have new ideas for you to think from your ideas. Now, this inner knowing isn't something that we're striving for out there. It's not something we have to work for because we already all have it. We've got this intuition. We know deep within when we should or shouldn't do something. We know deep within if a thought or a word that we're having or about to say is right or wrong. We know these things because we've got that inner knowing already. But some of us, we do use it a little bit differently, and I'll explain. So I ask you all to do something right now. Are you willing? And online, we're just going to have to assume that you're willing. Okay, so now I just want to ask you to just close your eyes for a moment. We're not going to meditate. We're just going to take a moment to just relax for a second. Okay, now while you're relaxed, I ask you to just stop thinking, to just cease all thoughts until I ask you to start thinking again. Okay, you can now open your eyes and you can start thinking again. So I want to ask a question, and you don't have to raise your hand, just answer it honestly. Was there anybody in here that was able to completely cease all thoughts? Or anybody online? No, I can't either. I can't do this either. You may have been able to slow down your thoughts a little bit, right? But to cease them entirely is pretty darn difficult. I would think you might have to be like a really high-level, Buddhist practitioner or something, Those people tend to have it down, but most of us, heck no, it's hard to just stop all thoughts. Thoughts slide through our minds on a constant basis. They're coming a mile a minute. Does this shirt look good on me? What do I want for lunch? I'm sure I'm hungry sitting here in church. Where are we going to go? I wish Reverend Evan would shut up and let's go eat. Fill in the blank, whatever it is. Thoughts are coming. They're coming and going. What becomes important, however, is not trying to cease your thoughts, but about placing your attention on those thoughts that meet your higher self, that are in alignment with your higher self. Because when we do that, we're likely to choose those thoughts that are coming directly from our higher self. When we do this, we're also making a step toward the extraordinary, into being able to take control of what it is we want to see in our lives, manifesting what it is that we want to see, if you will. So let's close our eyes again, and this time, let's not try to stop any of our thoughts. Let's just observe our thoughts for a moment. No matter what they say, let's just observe them. Let's just allow them to just appear and to disappear. And just notice how your various thoughts are making you feel. Some may make you feel great, some may not, but just let them come and go. Okay, and you can open your eyes again when you're ready. So now I want to ask a question. Why would we pick thoughts that don't make us feel good? Why would we do something like that? Say we go to a buffet for lunch, before COVID or after COVID, not right now for sure, but anyway. But say we go to a buffet for lunch, are you going to pick foods that you don't like or want to put on your plate? Why would you? So let's ask ourselves the same question about our thoughts. Why would we pick thoughts that we don't like or want? Why would we pick those thoughts that make us feel pretty yucky about ourselves? We do have a choice not to do this. I think that far too often we look at the buffet of thoughts in front of us and we choose the ones that we don't want. But we don't have to do that, not when we have others to choose from. So Dr. Dyer says, I'm encouraging you to initiate a habit of choosing thoughts and ideas that support feeling good and powerful, and that elevate you to a higher level of consciousness where your self-concept welcomes your higher self. So we don't want those thoughts that are coming from ego. Those are going to happen. You may be sitting there with these thoughts going through your head. God, did you see the hair on that woman sitting next to me? Or, did you see that shirt that guy picked? Or, I look so much better. Some of those may be thoughts from ego. But we also don't want those that are from that place of fear to come into our lives, right? We don't want to choose and dwell on those thoughts. So next time you find yourself thinking those thoughts that don't feel right, because that's a good indicator. How is that thought making you feel? Next time you have those thoughts come into your mind, rather than picking that thought and dwelling on that thought and manifesting whatever is behind that thought, picture an assembly line or something like that of sorts. Imagine all of your thoughts sitting on that assembly line. They're just going along on a conveyor belt. And place that one that doesn't make you feel good right back onto that line. Let it go. Place it back and let it go. And choose another one that does make you feel good. One that is coming directly from your higher self. One that aligns you with your higher self. And keep doing it until you find a thought that makes you feel good. When you do, you know that you're listening to your higher self. Because your higher self is never going to give you anything but good. Now, Dr. Dyer also quotes a passage from the book, The Three Magic Words by, and I hope I'm saying this name right, Ewell S. Anderson. We have assured the indwelling self that it can be anything it accepts and has faith in. And we are now about to develop it into the habit of choosing only those thoughts and ideas that will constructively add good unto it. We are teaching ourselves to accept only good. We are deliberately compelling ourselves to accept all love, all kindness, all hope, all joy, all expansion, all abundance, all health, and all vigor. We are deliberately compelling ourselves to reject all suffering, all sorrow, all depression, all morbidness, all inferiority, all aches and pains. We are saying nothing is true but the great and the good and the beautiful. Only these will we add unto ourselves. So thoughts and words, we can choose them on a daily basis, and we do choose them from moment to moment, even if only subconsciously. Because remember, we can't cease our thoughts. So we're choosing them moment to moment. Those we use when we think of and we speak to others, those are also from our higher selves, or not. When we use hateful words, when we talk to others, those aren't coming from our higher selves. Those aren't coming from God. Those we use for ourselves, it's the same thing. If it's hateful, if it's fear-based, if it's ego-driven, you can rest assured that those are not coming from your higher self. Put those thoughts back and choose one that is. So the next time somebody tries to tell you life isn't fair, look back at that person, look them in the eye and say, I can, I will, and I am. Namaste. All right. So there was something